People are talking about The Pope's Exorcist even months after its release. Why? Because there's rumors it's just been greenlit for a sequel. This is a horror movie that weaves in a fictional narrative around the real life and work of Father Gabriele Amorth, a renowned exorcist for the Catholic Church. The movie takes inspiration from actual events in Father Amorth's life, while introducing fictional and embellished elements. So what is real and what is fake? Today I'm going to break it down for you, and I'm also going to add in a little extra spice. I found an interview, which I will link down below, with a real-life priest and exorcist who claims that not everything is as it seems when it comes to the Pope's Exorcist. This is Father Carlos Martins. I'll link the whole interview with him down below, but I've taken nuggets from it, from what I found was really interesting about his take on the presentation, the portrayal of Father Amorth. Let's talk about Exorcism Ethics and CGI, getting straight to it. In the film's opening scene, Father Amorth is summoned to perform an emergency exorcism. However, it's later revealed that Father Amorth put on a display for the man who was to get exorcised because he didn't believe that he was actually possessed. But the scene and this example of a scene actually aligns with Father Amorth's real life perspective, where he often encountered more mental illness than people possessed. The way that they word this usually, which is really interesting, is that they were manifestations of mental health issues rather than demonic possession. And they really want the audience to know this, as one of the first lines exchanged is Father Amorth asking if this person who seems like they're possessed, if they've seen any doctors yet. The real Father Amorth said, often an exorcist is able to understand himself if there is an evil spirit or a psychological problem. It depends on the reaction that the person has. Father Amorth admitted that out of 100 cases, only 2 might be possession. I believe the throwaway lines are to keep the audience at bay, but it also lends to the fact that this was also on Amorth's mind, which is interesting for such a traditional priest. But beyond ethics, let's look at the broad picture of an exorcism. The idea that an exorcism would be, or really this whole film would be, such a spectacle is a huge red flag for Father Martins, who claims that the CGI effects is not how evil would operate or toy with a seasoned exorcist. The reason a demon would put on a show is to strike fear into the witness, and it does not have the same effect on someone who claims that they have performed hundreds or if not thousands of exorcisms. In other words, the devil wouldn't bother with this. Father Amorth, he worked for 30 years, 365 days a year. That is a lot of exorcisms. And for someone who has seen the devil, has seen demons many times, they would not even bother playing any theatrical tricks on him. And furthermore, Father Amorth would not be terrified by anything he saw because he's seen it all before. He's seasoned and he's a professional. He would save face and he would not react. Personally, I think this is a given. It's a movie. We need some spectacle. That's the whole point of a possession film, unfortunately. Let's talk about Father Amorth himself. The movie heavily fictionalizes aspects of Father Amorth's character, such as riding a scooter, wearing the red socks and the red spectacles, and listening to pop music. These are not grounded in reality. Russell Crowe, who played Father Amorth, said that he worked to capture part of Amorth's sense of humor and wit, but he definitely adds liberties. Although Amorth didn't share all of his opinions with his colleagues, I mean, who does? He was far from a controversial figure, or really offbeat at all. This guy? You're telling me this guy? He's quirky? Nah. Russell Crowe even let slip that he was inspired by seeing other well-dressed men on scooters traveling around Rome. Russell Crowe also said that the thing that interested me about the project was the person, not necessarily every aspect of the original script that I was sent. For me, it was, the core compelling aspect was the life of Gabriele Amorth. It's clear that he was only interested in doing this if he was going to add a few embellishments. And I mean, that is what film is. It's about adding embellishments. But you gotta wonder why they even base this on a living priest and exorcist if it was nothing like him. I mean, Father Amorth thought that Harry Potter was the work of the devil. And you know what? Turns out he may have been right. He also said the same about yoga, warning that it is based in Hinduism and could result in a cult of the body. He wasn't exactly a laid-back, flask-swigging dude, even if that's what Crowe wants you to believe. And here's some extra tea for you. Father Martins was meant to interview Russell Crowe on his podcast. He has his own podcast. I will link that below as well. But he asked to see a screener of the film before he did the interview because he didn't want to promote anything he didn't believe in. and they rejected him. When this real-life exorcist priest who really admired Father Amorth saw the trailers for the film, he was shocked. He said that Father Amorth's name was being exploited and the movie was a negative portrayal of his life and something that he would be against himself. Father Martins said that overall he found the film to be embarrassing for the filmmakers and the writers. His title was also displayed incorrectly. He was an exorcist for the Diocese of Rome, but not the chief exorcist of the Vatican. He really wasn't even the chief. It may have been more of a default way he was seen, but it wasn't his title. Let's talk about the end of Rosaria. The film does hint at historical events like Emanuela Orlandi's disappearance. The story that Amorth tells of Rosaria's death and confession about being abused by, quote, someone who looks like him, echoes his beliefs with the infamous disappearance of Emanuela Orlandi. He shocked the public when he came out with a statement about this real-life case, claiming that the devil is at work within the Vatican and that he believes that her disappearance was of a sexual motivation. The details of her story share similar to Rosaria's in the film, and it uses this connection to raise questions about the handling of sensitive cases within the church. This was a really interesting aspect to research because, let's be real, most possession films are very pro-church, and with talking about the mental health and conspiracies within the church being discussed by someone connected to the church so closely, I thought was really interesting and refreshing in a very sad way. Let's talk about Father Amorth's war experience. He did participate in World War II. He was only 18 years old, but this was an important part of the film. And in an interview, Russell Crowe highlighted that this aspect of his life is authentic and mentioned he discovered in his research that Amorth had a sense of survivor's guilt following the war, having witnessed the loss of many comrades and friends. This is why they took the opportunity to attribute the demon in the film to exploiting his trauma and guilt. The Abbey of San Sebastian. The film has a fictional abbey, and this serves as a captivating backdrop for its horror elements. However, it's essential to note that this abbey is not rooted in reality. Father Amorth conducted exorcisms in various settings, none of which were associated with this fictional abbey. In fact, many of the churches in the film do not hold consistencies with that of Catholic churches in Rome, as they boast French architecture, so it's a dead giveaway. But I know why you're all here. We want to talk about Henry's possession and exorcism, which is the focal point of the film. The movie introduces a fictional character, Henry, who becomes possessed, and while this fictional plot propels the film's central storyline, it does not reflect any of Father Amorth's actual cases. Henry is completely fictional. He also displays unusual signs for what is claimed to be a possessed person. The devil in Henry demands to see an exorcist. At the very start, as soon as he's possessed, he's like, send me the priest. And Father Martins explains in the interview link below that an exorcism is a threat to evil. It's not something that they would want to encourage or something that they would want to ever happen. His possession also has other inconsistencies, such as the devil would never willingly be in the room with a crucifix, which he is during part of the movie. The crucifix is a sign of the victory of Jesus, and evil would not be happy even sharing the same air as it. There's also an inconsistency on how exorcisms are conducted, as the confession in this film plays a small part in the film, while in most exorcisms, this is key to reuniting the possessed with Christ. A confession is a high priority within the possessed because it's reconnecting the possessed with their relationship with God. It's believed that God is able to speak through a priest, I'm paraphrasing of course, when they receive a confession. Obviously, this is part of what we usually see as kind of a twist or a reveal when we watch a possession movie, and it's something that we should definitely keep an eye on moving forward. But it's not the grand reveal that works in a film, so I understand why it's not the main focus. It's not gonna be a real exorcism word for word in real time. That takes hours. But I found it really interesting to learn this, and that is why confessionals are such a huge part of what you do in church. It's said that a confession is worth 100 exorcisms. It keeps the vulnerable from being preyed on for their shame or guilt. I have to say it, just like therapy. Let's talk about the controversial scene where Father Amorth allows himself to become possessed. This has happened in other movies, you know what I'm talking about, but in The Pope's Exorcist, it also takes place Father Amorth allows himself to be possessed to save Henry. This scenario is not grounded in reality. Not that you probably thought it was, but it is not what actually would happen for someone who believed in exorcisms. It's not something that they would ever do. Priests could certainly become possessed, maybe if they're not holy enough, but you would never invite evil into yourself as an agent of God or the Lord. It's just not something that would happen. Big no-no. And I know we all want to know, is this scene real? The dramatic conclusion where they seal the demon's manifestation of the two women who have haunted them inside a pit of fire? Totally real, obviously. In conclusion, the Pope's Exorcist combines elements of fiction and reality to craft a captivating narrative around Father Amorth's life and work. I mean, he was an interesting man, but it seems like he's being viewed completely different by different sources. Basically, Russell Crowe wanted him to be quirky turkey, and he just was not that dude. Without a doubt, the film embellished his character and the events surrounding it, but it's very important when watching anything based on truth to take it with a grain of salt, particularly when it's made into a horror movie relying on shock value. There are disturbing true stories that toe the line of truth, but not many of them need special effects to back up the horror. I found this really interesting, just the different parts of the exorcism, and I hope you guys did too. Let me know your thoughts down below. A little bit of a controversial one, but I was just so compelled when I started looking this up that, you know, I wanted to make a video on it. I was just really interested in it, and I thought some of you guys might be too. Keep an eye out for any more information about the upcoming sequel for The Pope's Exorcist, and let me know what your favorite, please let me know what your favorite exorcism movie is down below. I know it's The Exorcist. If you have a different recommendation, let me know, because I'm really on an exorcist kick. It got me back into it. I'm very interested in how an exorcism is portrayed in a horror movie. Very cool. Anyway, that's it for today. I hope you're all having a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Stay safe and stay spooky. Bye, friends.